Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Teacher Nerds Podcast. I'm Ron Nober.
I'm Joe DiPaolo.
And Joe?
Great song, Ron. I mean, that theme song, it almost has tears in my eyes. I love it so much.
It was amazing. And written by?
Yours truly.
Sung by?
Yours truly.
Played by?
Yours truly.
Amazing.
I apologize.
All right, so we're going to get into our, as usual, 2 yes more, 1 no way. And Joe?
We're getting away from food, Ron. Surprise, surprise.
Sports teams.
Here we go.
All right. Joe, do you want to go first?
All right, Ron. So, living in South Jersey and being a Philadelphia transplant like yourself, first and foremost, got to go with any Philadelphia team.
Right. Absolutely.
Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, they're all strong teams, strong fan base. My second team is going to be the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
Growing up in the 80s, Larry Bird, Parrish, and all that. And I know Sixers and Boston have a really, really strong rivalry. But I respect the Celtics. I respect, where they play. It's got a lot of history. And being a basketball fan,
right. And you are a basketball guy. Yeah.
I want to go Boston as opposed to LA.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. I mean, you know what? It seems like Boston was more of a blue collar working class.
Very similar to Philadelphia,
right, exactly.
Most definitely. And the Celtics and the Lakers going at it in the 80s with Magic Johnson. That's just I could recognize more with Boston in those matchups. My one no way, Ron, is going to be the New York teams.
Just straight up any New York team.
Yankees, Mets, Rangers, the Devils. Oh my goodness! And the Devils is a Jersey Stadium,
Yeah.
And same with the Giants.
Right.
But being from South Philly, and like I said, South Jersey and the Philly transplant, I'd have to go not for the Yankees, not for the Giants, and I don't care who they're playing.
Right.
I'm rooting for the other team. Heck yeah, man. Philly strong.
All right. So mine going to be pretty similar to yours. I'm going to actually pick out 2 of the Philly teams.
Okay.
All right. So one has to be the Birds.
There you go.
Eagles.
Go Birds.
Always have to be. Was never a huge basketball fan. I mean, I again, you respect what we saw in the 80s with those games. But my house was Flyers.
Okay.
Big Flyer fans. And it was, I'm still a little young for the Broad Street Bullies, but my dad, he would tell stories of the Broad Street Bullies and these tough working class guys and, chasing the Soviet team off the ice, and
well, Bernie Parent actually hit on my mom.
Hey,
Yep, my mom was coming out of her job at a bank. I forget on what street. And she said a car pulled up and opens the door, and Bernie Parent's right there. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing? Why don't you get in? I'll take you to work." I'm like, "Holy smokes. I don't know if I should be excited about that
or offended."
Yeah, feel kind of weird about that, Bernie. So if you're listening, so that's but the Broad Street Bullies, man, like that's that working class feeling.
Yeah, like guys who just were tough, got into it, and got a job done, and actually then, you hear stories of them going and hanging out with their actual fans, like at a pub in Jersey, I believe.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, it was just growing up hearing stories of those guys.
And you remember what happens when lightning strikes, if we're talking Flyers. It was about Hextall scoring.
Right? That's right. Yeah.
Lightning strikes once when Hextall strikes twice, scoring in that same game.
Yeah, and that was amazing too. Yeah, I mean, you got the first goal by a goaltender.
Yeah,
in the Hextall, and those were some teams too. And
well, so it was the late '80s.
Yeah,
when they were when Eric Lindros came into
90s, 80s.
Okay,
but yeah, you had Hextall and. You had that whole, was it the Legion of Doom line?
Yeah.
That was the 90s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool.
Always a strong team. Not a lot of cups, but always a strong team and definitely contenders.
Yeah. Yeah. So my one no way, it's got to be the Cowboys.
Okay.
I just,
hate them.
Hate's a strong word, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just not a lot of love, I'll say, for the Cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, that's in our conference. And, You know, I do. I enjoy rooting against the Cowboys.
Right.
Definitely not America's team as
Not
far
for
as
me.
I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
But oh, that's awesome.
All right. So let's get into our topic today, Joe. We're going to do homework, right?
Yeah. Now, talking about homework, doing some research, I actually came across Allen Iverson, and I told him what we were doing.
Okay.
And he said, Joe, I never liked homework. And I said, Allen, have you missed homework? And he said, Joe, if a teacher says I miss a homework assignment and you all hear it, then that's that. I miss homework. I might have missed one homework all year. But Joe, we talking about homework. Homework, Joe, not the game. Joe, we talking about homework, man.
That was fantastic.
Well, you know, being a Sixers fan, you know,
I fit it right in.
Oh man,
yes,
Ron,
no, no
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the way it's all coming together. But that's, you know, it's a serious topic, though.
No,
you know,
is.
we're talking about homework,
and there's a lot of debate. You know, as to give homework, not give homework.
Our school, we have a policy.
Right.
You know, and I teach third grade. So in third grade, the policy states we're supposed to give them 30 minutes of homework a night.
Right.
You know, when I first started teaching, we were given reading homework, we were given math homework, and we were giving spelling homework.
Yeah.
In addition to studying your spelling words and studying your spelling facts. Math facts. Thank you. I mean, it wound up to being well over 30 minutes.
Right.
You know, so it's a tough topic, and it's I think a topic that people, especially teachers, sometimes have to tiptoe around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because administrators set.
Right. And some, you know, somebody has set, these are the guidelines, you give this much homework, and that's the rule. And you know, the other thing is parents expect it. You know, so you get parents concerned, why don't they have homework?
You know, the typical homework assignment would be some type of spelling assignment, some type of math assignment, then reading, whether on your own or with someone, and then possibly filling out a log or reading stems. And at third grade, you know, that 30-minute assignment turns into a lot longer than 30 minutes for a lot of the kids. You know, and from some of the research, you know, they're saying, well, if the kids can fly through the homework, did they really need it?
Was there anything learned from it? Yeah.
Which I think leads us to the teacher, right, playing a really important role in the type of homework given and that load of homework that the students come home with. Now, you know, there's two sides to every story, right?
Absolutely,
the homework story.
Yeah.
Some positives are they're saying it can reinforce the daily lessons.
Understand. Yep. Now, I will say with that, my thought when I taught third grade and fifth grade, if I can just kind of interject, was it can reinforce, right?
Right. Well,
but can it reinforce a mistake? Right. So,
well, that's part of the negatives,
right?
You know, like there's those two sides. You know, if you do some homework, it gives them the opportunity to take their learning further and understand something deeper.
Okay.
And then this was, I thought, was an amusing one, is that homework helps support the homeschool connection, where they were saying, you know, by sending kids home with homework, it shows the parents what the kids are doing in school. So those are all positives per se. You know, what looks good on paper doesn't always transfer in the real world.
Right.
Now, some of the negatives to homework, there's no teacher support. Right. You don't go home with the students. So even saying something like, if you don't finish this in class, you now have to do it for homework. So I can't finish something with you in class with help.
Right. How am I
now I got to do it
myself?
At home.
Right.
Which I understand, though, like you're maybe trying to curb some behavior.
Absolutely.
Get to working. So not only are you not there at home, a lot of parents aren't there at home because they're working.
Right.
You know, maybe.
Or, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, go ahead. Or
I was going to say, or you have parents who don't understand, you know, what was taught or the way it was taught.
Which is then going to start a struggle between the parent and the student.
Right.
Students are confused about the topic. So talking about what you were leading to before. So I'm doing something wrong. Right. And now I'm going to reinforce doing it the wrong way. It's just an added stressor at home life. And then is it graded? And if it is graded, what's the grade? Between 5 and 10%?
Right.
And what I came across, they were saying as the students get older, especially high school kids, they're like, that's cool. Instead, you know, so maybe I'll get a 95 instead of, you know, being able to start off with 100. So those are some different sides of the homework story.
And I mean, my view on homework, I don't know about yours. Mine from when I first started teaching has changed dramatically.
Oh, most definitely. As has my homework.
Right.
From when I first started teaching.
I mean, I used to be you don't do your homework, then you don't go out for recess.
Yeah.
And you're gonna lose points on this, and when I looked at it, what I started to see was I was punishing the same kids who were struggling, so I wasn't really helping anybody out.
Right.
Right. These are the kids who need to get out and run around at recess a lot of times. They may not have support at home. They may struggle, and I'm then coming down on top of them even more so.
You're adding to, or not you, but when things like this happens, it adds to that stress, all the numerous stressors that these kids are going through today.
Exactly.
And then they start to, not have a taste for school and not want to be there. I did some homework on homework, Ron.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And I guess what I'm taking away from this is you can find research to say whatever you want.
Absolutely.
That being said, there was a lot more research I came across that said homework isn't really put out to what it's set up to be.
Right.
But there was the ERIC Foundation, or the ERIC organization, Educational Resource Information Center.
Yep.
Institute for Education Sciences. I've seen some articles from them before, but I never really knew what they were. And they put out an article, and it was actually the most recent I found. It was published in 2016, and it was entitled "What is Homework For?" And I'm reading it, and I had to read it a couple times because I'm like, man, it's really backing homework. It wasn't backing homework. It was backing teachers in Hong Kong, saying they think homework does help students extend their learning.
Okay.
Now I started to really look into it and really read the article, and I started to realize, they're saying that they don't get a lot of support from their government, so they rely on parents to really help out with their students' learning.
Right.
They're learning Chinese characters, which has a lot going on in their alphabet.
Sure.
They're learning English as well. And these primary teachers were saying, we think homework's important because we're introducing things during the day that are going to require practice.
Right.
If you want to learn this language, all these characters for all these different letters, it can't be something you do 5 minutes in the morning
and then be done with it.
Like a hand, like we kind of have our handwriting program,
book, yeah.
And then to study English and to learn that second language. They should be learning it at that young age, right? But not just getting things thrown at them, really using the language, because that's where the research shows that's how you learn the language. You use the language.
Right. I wonder because I also wonder what is the family unit like in Hong Kong?
The family unit does place a lot more emphasis on education and the value of education, which I think might be slipping in America today. And not that I've done research, not that I've looked at that research, but from teaching for the past 13 years, parent involvement and even parent disgust, it's an inverse proportion. It's disgust is going up and parent involvement seems to be going down.
Right.
Back to the Hong Kong, they have increased class sizes. They were learning those characters and another language, so the students with parent support had better learning outcomes. That was one study. There's I know you follow Alice Keeler.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Alice Keeler, I believe, co-authored the book Ditch That Homework.
Right, I believe so. Yeah.
She's got countless articles about homework isn't good for students.
Right.
There's countless research on Alfie Kahn, who I just came across, has 14 or 15 books out there
on
homework. And from doing the research, he's saying in 2006, the negative effects of homework are well known. Students are frustrated and exhausted. That leads to a lack of playtime, a loss of interest in learning. Students and parents struggles. The parents are seen as the enforcer on assignments that they didn't even assign.
Right.
And all they want to do is either help or just get it complete. And, I've heard the horror stories, Ron, and I know you have too.
Well, and how many times do you hear, someone say, especially I find with math, that's not the way I learned it. What is this new math?
Right.
So parents don't, we're teaching something in a way that parents don't know how it was taught,
And I think
and they can't understand, so they're frustrated.
And then if students come in and say, well, 6 times 4 is 24 because I memorized it.
Right.
And there's teachers that'll say, well, you have to solve this problem using the break apart strategy.
Right.
Well, what if I don't need the strategy? Well, the question asks,
right.
How do you use this strategy to solve this? And kids are getting penalized.
Right.
Khan also says the positive effects of homework are mythical. Now, I don't understand if you're working with your son or daughter at home, like how could that not be positive?
Right. I mean, yeah. I don't know that it's.
But maybe over for the mass, right, of everyone.
For the general, if you take a large population, the majority, maybe it is mythical, but reading with your child,
that's never a bad thing.
Right.
Exactly. And I think, Ron, that's where a lot of, especially Alice and Ditch That Homework, she says, rethink how to structure your class to maybe provide more time to help those students.
And maybe just rethinking what homework is, right?
Well, yes, not saying, and she even says, not saying students should never do things at home, but teachers should make sure students have the opportunity to research, to collaborate, and possibly to practice things at home. So when you're in 3rd grade, yes, maybe one of the assignments should be memorizing your multiplication facts. Now, that being said, in this day and age, there's 1,000 ways you can do that, some of which are online.
Right.
Right. And then you start to bring in those 21st century skills. If a student can fly through the worksheet at home, they didn't need that homework.
Right.
If someone is frustrated, they're going to do it wrong. The parent's going to come in. It's going to cause that struggle. And she even said this might come from me being a parent, but I have times with my kids between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. at night. Right. You know what I want to do? I want to have fun with them. Right. I want to hear about their day. I don't want to argue with them over a math problem.
Right. Which, I mean, I'll be the first one to admit, I know it happened with me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember sitting at the table, my dad freaking out, yelling at me to do this math problem. He didn't know how to do it the way they were asking for it to be done, and I wasn't letting him show me the way he knew how to do it. Like that's a vivid memory.
Right. And obviously not a good, I was just going to say, not one you want to remember.
Right, exactly.
But it's ingrained in your head.
Yeah.
John Carippo, the creator of Q, which is a organization out there that inspires innovative learning, has an article entitled, "Let's Be Honest, Homework Sucks for Everyone." Because right. I think after doing this research, it can. Now, he talks about a bell-to-bell schedule. Okay. So as soon as they come in, they start working, right. And they know, like, we need to get this much done. But then when you leave here,
you got nothing.
Yeah, you don't have to go do this worksheet at home that you already showed you know how to do it.
Right.
And he says, just like Alice, provide those opportunities and activities to extend their learning,
right.
But make them meaningful.
Well, and I think, when you're talking about that, I'm thinking about when, I think it was 2 years ago, you did the Flipgrid with some science.
Yep.
Where kids were going home and they couldn't wait to show an experiment that they did, or that's rethinking homework.
And this is how I modified it. I did this, and now look how high this thing goes. Right. Or growing flowers when we do that at the end of the year. I'm so excited, Ron, about this year and using Flipgrid and using WeVideo, where we are going to have 30 minutes of a homework. But on our website, I added, I don't want to say a choice board, but different activities,
right.
Where, you want to read to your kid, and then your kid can go get on Flipgrid and respond. So we there's already a homework grid up there.
Okay.
Maybe kids don't have someone at home that can read with them. Maybe, mom's working. So we hooked up a link to Story Nori, so they could sit there and listen to a story read to them. And they're fairy tales. They're meant for little kids.
Right.
Different math links that, will give you flashcards for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. I'm so excited about seeing this portray or, roll out this year. But more importantly, I can't wait for back to school night. To show parents, like, this is our website. This is the stuff we're doing. This is the link to the YouTube channel. This is a link for homework.
Yep.
And the different things you can do for homework. And one of the things I have on there, read to someone.
Right.
Like read to your little brother or sister.
Well, and I was just thinking, what about, you don't have anybody to read to? Read to Flipgrid. Read to the camera.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
You're still reading. You as a teacher get to see their fluency and everything that you may need.
Well, even or using WeVideo, we did a whole bunch of podcasts this summer and screencasts. So to do a read a fairy tale into WeVideo,
right,
upload it
as just an MP3
and share it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I am excited, and from doing this research and talking about homework, like I don't want to say I got a pat on the back.
Right.
But I thought, all right, because I have changed the way we do homework.
Right.
And I remember talking to our administrator, Mrs. Bertulis, our vice principal, when our third grade kind of kicked this idea to her last year. And she, was a little worried that we have a homework policy. We said, we're not getting away with homework.
Right. You're not saying no homework.
And her question was, well, there's always a homework page that goes with the math book. How do you know they got that lesson if you're not sending them to do it, later at home?
Right.
And I can't talk for everyone, but my co-teacher, Kim Bray, and I, as opposed to coming up with problems to write for the kids on the board, they come in the next morning and the first thing they do is take out their practice book.
And then you see.
And we could see
they retain something.
They got it or they didn't get it. And if they didn't get it, then, we're like, oh, great. So our first center, instead of you getting into this activity, you're going to be working with this group, with this teacher, on reviewing this skill. What didn't you get from you?
Nice.
So it's revamping homework and revamping what we're doing in the classroom to really try and meet the kids' needs, as opposed to just sending home busy work.
Yeah, I like it. And even going home and researching something you're interested about, kind of like a home genius hour.
Well,
right?
But you start genius hour in school, and that's the cool thing.
They're
doing it on their own.
Absolutely.
So then maybe that's another idea for Flipgrid. Because we have the Flipgrid homework with a link to, hey, these are some things to talk about what you read, all based on, what we're doing in a reading class for the time.
Right.
But then to maybe have a Flipgrid page set up there for our Spark time, saying I went home, I did this is what I found, because it's really cool to get them excited about it during the day, and then to see them go home and say, oh my God, I can't wait. Yeah. Let me do this math page real quick so I can get into what I want to. Like, no, it should be, let me throw this book bag down and let me get into what I want to get into.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, and I'll be honest, like as a technology teacher, I don't give a ton of homework, because a lot of what we do is hands-on.
Right. Oh, most definitely.
So, but when I taught fifth grade, when I taught third grade, I did give homework. And like I said, as I got into it, my view of what I was giving started to shift dramatically.
Well, because I think as you get into it, you hone your craft, you get better, and you see, like, why am I doing this if it doesn't have the right effect?
And like we say, that Maya Angelou quote, right? Once you know better, do better.
Do better.
Right. And that's, I think as you start to look at it and, take a step back and have that, get away from that mentality of, I do it like this because that's how it was done with me, and that's how I'm always going to do it. If you can get away with that, or away from that, you're going to be
right. I mean, because if you do the same thing that we had to do in school, you're stealing their future.
Right.
Right. Isn't that that what they say? Like, don't do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have anything else for homework?
Ron, that was it. I wish I had another cool Allen Iverson bit for the end. It's homework, man. We talking about homework.
For who? So. For what? Wasn't that Ricky Waters?
Oh yeah.
Right? So there you go. Yep. We can end with that. Philadelphia Eagles old Ricky Waters quote, for who, for what?
Love it, Ron.
Homework. All right. So I'm Ron Nober.
I'm Joe DiPaolo.
We are the Teacher Nerds. And remember, Joe, that's nerds with a
Z, Ron.
So you can check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram.
Yeah, on the gram. Find us on the gram.
And check us out on our website at teachernerds.com. You can even pick up some cool Teacher Nerds gear that we have going on.
Or just teaching gear in general.
Teaching gear in general, right? We have our ebooks. We have some T-shirts on there.
Ron, we got a lot going on, man.
A lot going on.
A lot of good stuff.
All right. So thank you for joining us on this episode.
And Ron, don't forget to tell them about our Flipgrid.
Oh, yeah. We have a Teacher Nerds Flipgrid. Again, you can find that on teachernerds.com. And that's, again, nerds with a
Z.
All right. Bye. Cool.